Here's what former acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe told us last night about his meeting with the so-called Gang of Eight of congressional leaders and the leaders of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees. In this meeting in the Gang of Eight, you're telling them that you have ordered a counterintelligence investigation of the President of the United States. Did you make it clear to them that this is a counterintelligence investigation of Donald Trump, and did you provide them with any evidence that, in effect, launched this investigation?
So I don't want to go into too much detail about exactly what we discussed in that briefing. I want to be respectful of the fact that those communications between the leaders of the department and the leaders on the Hill are things that we respect in terms of being confidential.
And so, respecting the confidentiality of that meeting, Andrew McCabe did not tell us any of the specific evidence that he presented in that briefing. He simply said that he told the congressional leaders that the FBI was now officially investigating the President of the United States. In his book, he does not reveal specifically what he said. His book says, after reminding the committee of how this investigation began, I told them of additional steps we had taken. No one interrupted. No one pushed back. The mood in the room was sober. Schumer had been nodding his head and looking at me very directly throughout the brief. On McConnell's side of the table, I sensed a great deal of resignation. I asked him about that last night. And none of them asked a single question about it or raised any issue of resistance to that investigation?
Lawrence, there was no resistance whatsoever. The purpose of the briefing was to brief them on the steps we had taken. I also walked them through the history, how we had gotten to the point where we were at that place and time, and then to brief them on the steps that I had taken during that week. It was the same briefing in which Rod Rosenstein announced to the leadership that he had appointed a special counsel. But at the conclusion of my remarks, there were no objections. There were no protests. There was no, there was a clear sense in the room that people were resigned to the fact that we had taken a necessary step. That was my impression.
In judging Andrew McCabe's credibility about that meeting, you should consider that no one who was in that meeting is now objecting to Andrew McCabe's written description of that meeting or what Andrew McCabe said about that meeting on this program last night. Andrew McCabe discovered in the room that the Gang of Eight is really a gang of about 24 because each of the members usually brings a couple of staff members with them. So not one of the 24 people who were in that room has emerged to simply say, Andrew McCabe's not telling the truth about what happened in that room. NBC News got an official no comment from 6 of the members who were in that room: Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Congressman Adam Schiff, Senator Mitch McConnell, Senator Chuck Schumer, Senator Richard Burr, Senator Mark Warner. Former Speaker Paul Ryan issued a statement saying, we never commented on his intelligence briefings, and Devin Nunes issued a statement that simply is not true. He said, I cannot comment on the content of Gang of Eight briefings. That is not true. The truth is he cannot comment on the classified content and only the classified content of Gang of Eight briefings. Just the classified content. That's all that's restricted. And that's what we saw Andrew McCabe do here last night. That is why Andrew McCabe would not tell us the specifics of the evidence he presented in that room, because that is classified. But Devin Nunes would not be revealing anything that happened in that room if he simply said, Andrew McCabe is not telling the truth about what happened in that room. But Devin Nunes has not said that, carefully not said that. Andrew McCabe's book has been available for days now, and there is not one sentence about anyone in that book that has been challenged by anyone in that book. In interviews, Andrew McCabe has revealed that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein more than once seriously discussed the possibility of wearing a wire into the Oval Office to record his discussions with the president because he believed that those discussions could include evidence that could be used against the president. The Justice Department issued a statement about that, which did not deny that Rod Rosenstein seriously discussed wearing a wire into the Oval Office. The statement says the Deputy Attorney General never authorized any recording that Mr. McCabe references. Exactly. That's exactly what Andrew McCabe said. There's no conflict there. Andrew McCabe never said that Rod Rosenstein authorized the wearing of the wire. He says that Rod Rosenstein just talked about it, and talked about it more than once. So there you have Rod Rosenstein, in effect, with that statement, confirming that he talked about it, because he doesn't deny that he talked about it in the statement that the Justice Department issued. In interviews, Andrew McCabe has also revealed that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein more than once conducted serious discussions about the possibility of using the constitutional procedure of the 25th Amendment to remove the president from office. The Justice Department statement says the Deputy Attorney General previously has stated there is no basis to invoke the 25th Amendment, nor was the Deputy Attorney General in a position to consider invoking the 25th Amendment. Exactly. There's no conflict there, because Andrew McCabe did not say that Rod Rosenstein was in a position to invoke the 25th Amendment, because everyone knows the Deputy Attorney General cannot invoke the 25th Amendment. It can only be invoked by the Vice President, first the Vice President, and then a majority of the Cabinet has to join the Vice President. And so the Justice Department statement does not contradict a single word that Andrew McCabe has said about Rod Rosenstein seriously discussing wearing a wire into the Oval Office, and seriously discussing whether the 25th Amendment could be used to remove the president. The Justice Department statement serves in effect as a confirmation that what Andrew McCabe is saying is absolutely true about Rod Rosenstein, because Rod Rosenstein does not dare to contradict one word that Andrew McCabe actually said about him. And that is because Rod Rosenstein no doubt knows that Andrew McCabe took careful notes of all of his conversations, and all of those notes are in the possession of Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller. So if you're trying to judge Andrew McCabe's credibility about what he has written in his book and what he has been saying in his interviews, the fact is that as of tonight, and now this could change, but as of right now tonight, not one word Andrew McCabe has written or said in his interviews has been contradicted by any of the people he is talking about in his book or in his interviews.
I knew with this book I had the opportunity to give the American public the rare chance to peek behind the FBI curtain, to understand who does this work, why do we do it, and how do we do it? How do we make these decisions? How do we decide where this incredible organization is going to go and what we're going to do? It's not the story that you've heard from the president. It is not the story that you've heard from his supporters on the Hill. It is the actual story of how work is done in an institution that is crucial to the health of this democracy.
Andrew McCabe gets tonight's last word. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.